Please stand for the opening prayer and pledge.
Father in heaven, bless us as we gather today for this meeting. Guide our minds and hearts so that we will work for the good of our community. Teach us to be generous in our outlook, courageous in the face of difficulty, and wise in our decisions. Thy will be done. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to call this Hancock County Commission to order this 15th day of September 2016. Please be reminded, including myself, to turn off all cellular devices during the meeting. I appreciate that. Looks like Clark Kent's not here, but we're going to get started anyway. Coming in. Roll call.
Mr. President, all Hancock County Commissioners are present.
Thank you. We have a quorum. Item 2, approval of commission meeting minutes for September 8th, 2016.
Move to approve.
You guys have been given copies. Any additions, corrections? If none, I'd like to call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Agency government presentations, we have none. Old business, these are tabled items. Any consideration to bring it off the table? None? B has approval of behalf of the Executive Council for the hearing scheduled on October 6, 2016 to be dismissed. Any?
There's no need to take it off the table. There was no response from Attorney Milner on that. There's no need to hear it before the 6th.
Okay. So both items will be left table. Correspondence, Mark Vignovic, Chairman, Hancock County Solid Waste Authority, requesting the appointment of Robert Applegate to the Hancock County Solid Waste Authority to fill an unexpired term.
Move to approve.
Discussion? Comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Tara Ty Esquire, Assistant United States Attorney, United States Attorney General's Office for the Northern District of West Virginia, requesting approval of proclamation recognizing the week of September 19th through the 23rd as National Heroin and Opioid Drug Awareness Week.
So do we want to
Accept the
make this
motion?
as a matter of record or adopt this as a resolution?
No, I think we need to approve the proclamation.
I motion that we approve the proclamation recognizing September 19 through 23 as National Heroin and Opiate Drug Awareness Week.
Have a motion, discussion. My comment is I could be mistaken, but doesn't West Virginia lead the nation? It wasn't on the news lately. Health Department members, can you help us here? Didn't you even bring that up, wasn't it? Yes. We lead the nation in drug overdose tests. So, I'll be
Tough picture on the front of the paper the other day, but it's reality. That's what's here, and it's sad.
Any other comments? Call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. New business. County Clerk. Approval of the number 1 commissioners and poll workers for the November 8th, 2016 general election.
Move to approve as presented.
Questions? We ready to go?
Yes.
No problems, sir.
Matter of fact, we have the training set up for the 12th of October for the poll workers.
Okay.
And, be all set. Basically the same ones that worked the last few years.
They're all notified of that date?
They will be. We just went out today, so.
50-some days? 52 days. Call for a vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Office of Technology and Communications requesting approval to hire Kenneth Schuman as part-time dispatcher, 911 Center, effective September the 15th, 2016. Move to approve. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 2, requesting approval to purchase a town and country minivan from the Hancock County Chrysler for the use by the dog wardens. Move to approve. Discussion? Mr. Vitus, you don't have anything? It's cut. We're good?
It's a used van?
Yes, sir. 2013. Has stone good seating so we can pop the seats down and get as many animals as possible. And the rear portion of the cab has heating and air conditioning, so it's better than pickup truck.
Yeah. Further discussion, gentlemen? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Part 7, finance exoneration orders.
Move to approve.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. General county bills.
General County is $70,713.67. P-card payments for all funds was $17,492.94.
Move to approve. Discussion? Concerns? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. C, animal shelter levy fund bills requisitions.
They're okay with that.
Move to approve. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Fire allocation bills requisitions.
They're okay with that.
Move to approve.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Library rates, funds, bills, requisitions.
Only one library is numbered, but they're okay with that.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Citizens' remarks. Remind you, last week I didn't even have to say it. Remind you that it's a business meeting. It's not a question and answer. And limit, since we have the vast number, we will limit the comments to 3 minutes. With that said, item A. Sorry, Fred. Fred Miller. Yeah, the item A is up there. Fred Miller, Citizens. I'm sorry.
Fred Miller, F-R-E-D. I had to look at my sheet. M-I-L-L-E-R. Since I lost my train of thought last time I spoke, I thought I better write things down this time. So, a couple of interesting letters to the editor in the paper. Rudy Rosnick, in his letter, accused the commissioners, and I quote, of a level of arrogance and disrespect for the public that is beyond description. End quote. Yet at every meeting that I've attended and heard the foundation speakers talk about the commission, I've seen little but rudeness, arrogance, and disrespect toward the commissioners. They have accused you of all kinds of disreputable motives and actions, and then they would call upon you to set aside your egos and compromise on your conditions and how the shelter should be run, while absolutely refusing to change the way that they think the shelter should be run. The only item that I've heard a foundation spokesman offer to compromise on is on the waiting list issue. But how can you compromise on an issue which you, for the most part, deny exists? In her statements and letters to the editor, Carrie McIntyre continues to claim the foundation has been informed of only one complaint from a citizen about waiting lists. And another time, I think she said there's been only one documented instance of a person being put on a waiting list. I'm not sure which is the one that she's referring to. And I've heard another foundation supporter say, I think it was Rudy, but I'm not sure, say that, tell the commission in this meeting room that waiting lists are the standard operating procedure for shelters all around this region. And that's something that was repeated in the PETA letter, that waiting lists are the standard operating procedure for low-kill and no-kill shelters. And that's the reason people get turned away. Mr. Rosnick, in his letter to the editor, said he wondered how the commissioners think they can operate the shelter better than the foundation can. Well, from the accounts that I've heard, I think the commission appears to be operating the shelter just fine, and it's doing it at less than half the cost as the foundation, which had a budget of $390,000, which to me seems like an awful lot for a small county's animal shelter. It seems to me like this is an operation they were running as an animal
seconds.
rescue and adoption, enterprise that was putting animals first and people second. Carrie, in her letter, she said that she recognized the commission was never going to return the shelter to the foundation. So I would ask, why are you all still here?
Thank you, sir. Time's up. Rudy Rosnick, citizen.
There's a little mix-up on the lineup here. I'd ask that the commission allow my wife to speak first before me.
Yeah, we set the agenda as they come in, but I can allow that.
Okay, thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Because I'm here on behalf of Tom Golf. I had asked him some questions about the foundation because I was never a member of the foundation, and I'm still not. I just wanted to get some information from him. Hancock County Animal Shelter Foundation believes all lives matter, that no animal should be destroyed due to space or arbitrary time limits, and that so-called euthanasia is not an effective or humane means of population control. What work are adoption events, spay-neuter clinics, educational services, responsible pet ownership, and foster programs. Foundation members, staff, and volunteers provided such services, resulting in record numbers of adoptions and a community fully connected to its shelter. 2015 alone, we clocked over 2,000 volunteer hours, in addition to 250 adoption event hours. 2015, we had a record number of adoptions and community events, over 310 dogs and 420 cats found forever homes. 6 low-cost spay-neuter cat clinics for over 450 cats, paid for over 40 cats spay-neutered through our community feral cat funds, held a free trap-neuter release seminar to everyone interested in helping solve feral cat issues, held outreach education programs on responsible pet ownership to the community and schools, held over 35 off-site adoption events throughout our region, finding dogs forever homes. 2016 to present, all programs continue and expand from 2015. As of June 1st, our adoption numbers tracked higher than 2015 for another record year. Citizens approved our 4-year levy by 72.5%, the highest support ever. We expanded to monthly spay-neuter clinics for cats to exceed 600 cats. Increased dog adoption events to 4 per month with expanded locations. July 1, continued our sold-out low-cost spay-neuter services for 150 cats, paid for over 30 cats spay-neutered through our community feral cat funds. Conducted community trap-neuter release assistance for those in need of feral cat help. Provided 2 dog adoption events and will expand adoption events with the Animal Rescue League in 2017. Bark in the Park and 5K Run Walk community events go on as scheduled. I hope these facts will provide everyone an insight into just how involved the Hancock County Animal Shelter Foundation was in operating the shelter for Hancock County. Our programs and outreach for humane animal care will continue. We are transparent and encourage all citizens to become humane animal care advocates. The last low-cost spay-neuter clinic is this Sunday, and all the slots are filled. Tom Goff, Hancock County Animal Shelter Foundation Board President.
Thank you. Great. Carrie McIntyre, Secretary, Hancock County Animal Shelter Fund. I'm sorry, Rudy. I put the scratch up through there. Rudy Rosnick.
Rudy Rosnick.
Out of order speaker. Go ahead.
Rudy Rosnick, R-U-D-Y, R-O-S-N-I-C-K. The blow is taken from the West Virginia Freedom of Information Act, the Declaration of Policy, pursuant to the fundamental philosophy of the American Constitutional Form of Representative Government, which holds to the principle that the government is the servant of the people and not the master of them. It is hereby declared to be the public policy of the state of West Virginia that all persons are, unless otherwise expressly provided by law, entitled to full and complete information regarding the affairs of government and the official acts of those who represent them as public officials and employees. The people, in delegating authority, do not give their public servants the right to decide what is good for the people to know and what is not good for them to know. The people insist on remaining informed so that they can retain control over the instruments of government they have created. To that end, the provisions of the article are to be liberally construed with the view of carrying out the above declaration of public policy. That's the declaration of policy for the state of West Virginia. The law also goes on to state that you are required within 5 business days to provide any documents requested. This is how the Hancock County Commission, treated me, during a recent request dated August the 18th. I hand delivered my request to President Schwartzmiller of the Commission. The request asked for 8 specific sets of documents. Even though the state statute mandates you provide the copies of the public records requested within 5 business days, it took the Commission 4.5 days to even acknowledge my request. After several letters back and forth, we agreed to a completion of the request by September the 2nd. On September the 2nd, I was called by your secretary to come up here and get my information. I did arrive, and I was handed a stack of 591 pages, not separated by the 8 different categories of information I was asking for. You also had a letter on this top that says, the request is now at an end. As the request was denied in part, you may institute proceedings for injunctive or declaratory relief in the circuit court. In other words, you're telling me to take it to the Supreme Court to find out what you didn't give me and why you didn't give it to me. You refuse to tell the public why you assumed operation of the county animal shelter. You make false statements to the public in the media and at your commission meetings. Now you refuse to provide public documents mandated by the West Virginia Freedom of Information Act. Why are you not being transparent to the taxpayers of Hancock County? Is this how a commission builds trust? Thank you for the time.
Thank you. I put my glasses on, I probably see these. Carrie McIntyre, Secretary.
Carrie McIntyre, Secretary for Hancock County Animal Shelter Foundation, CARIMCINTYRE. I'm the kind of person who believes that people should be held accountable for the things they do and say, including public officials. I believe it was Thoreau who said, it's not what you look at that matters, it's what you see. And I try to keep that in mind when I'm preparing statements, being careful with the wording, as the meaning may seem clear to me, but someone else may not see it the same way. So at the last meeting, when comments were made about some of my prior statements, I felt the need to address those comments. There was a statement made that the foundation had stated there was only one documented person on our waiting list. But in actuality, the statement made by me was that the foundation had been made aware by the commission of only one documented complaint received regarding the waiting list. Some of the same words in those 2 statements, but obviously very different statements. We had a waiting list. It was not just one person, and the people on that list, after explanation was provided as to the reason for the list, agreed to wait a period of time before surrendering their animal to the shelter, so no current shelter animals would have to be euthanized in order to make space. They were happy to be helping and saving lives. Mr. Lucas had comments regarding the foundation trying to fool the public and me being upset about a low euthanasia rate when in fact I had stated at a prior meeting if the numbers were true, it was a victory for the animals in this county, and no one has ever questioned the reasons for the 3 animals that were euthanized for humane reasons. Because the numbers provided on this last shelter report did not provide transparency of all animals taken in during July, I felt the need to ask specific questions regarding how many were euthanized, how many were killed, as we have learned these are 2 very different issues. I'm not trying to fool the public into thinking anything. I'm asking for accurate accountability for the animals in your care, information that should be readily available. Further comment included that I should contact the humane officer to assist in my investigation, when I had stated just minutes prior to your presentation that I had contacted the acting director of the shelter, who's also a humane officer for the county, requested a meeting with her to discuss the numbers at the shelter, help to encourage transparency with your information, and alleviate some of the animosity. And I have not received a reply yet in response to this request over a week ago. You also suggested I should file a complaint within the county court system. However, I don't believe I can file anything simply because you're not providing requested information or not holding yourselves accountable for all the animals in your care unless I file the FOIA request and you don't reply. Surely you don't work on commission and are trying to generate more money for the county in the form of filing fees in addition to the money that we're already paying for FOIA request copies. Unfortunately, according to the wording in the contract provided by the county, you have ensured that it's legal to kill animals in the name of population control, so there's nothing to file in that regard. The West Virginia Board of Veterinary Medicine can only account for numbers that are provided by the shelter. They do not account for any animals that are euthanized by anyone else for Hancock County Shelter, and shelters only provide that information once yearly in January, so there's nothing to confirm with them. Due to that perception, the perception of the shelter and euthanasia issue was in fact created by one person who sits in these meetings week after week, and that is Mr. Lucas. That one person is now trying to fool people into thinking the foundation is creating unfounded statements and accusations when in fact we want to hold everyone accountable for their statements and promises, which is something all citizens should agree on. Thank you.
Thank you. Ruth Ann Danford, Treasurer, Hancock County Animal Shelter Foundation.
RUTHANNE, Danford, DANFORD. Mr. Vitus, at the last meeting, speaking as a citizen, you discussed the foundation and those who support us as being not about the animals. Everything about the foundation is about the animals, but sometimes people hear things and they concentrate on one word and don't hear the rest of the facts. You went on to say that we had not offered assistance with adoptions or low-cost spay-neuter clinics, when in fact in a letter submitted by Carrie McIntyre dated August 2nd, which you finally responded to on August 16th, we asked questions like, when will you begin off-site adoption programs? When will you begin trap-neuter return education and low-cost spay-neuter programs? Your reply was, off-site adoption programs are being reviewed. Education and other programs are being reviewed. This was a prime opportunity for you to state that you needed help. Our clinics are always open to the public. It only takes a phone call to be added to the list, although they fill up quickly. Some of the board members have been volunteering their time for more than 20 years now. None of us are ever paid for our services we provide. Over the years since you have been in office or employed in your current capacity, how many of you have volunteered at a spay-neuter clinic, even made a monetary donation or an off-site adoption? And yet, you, Mr. Vitus, have the audacity to say that the foundation has never asked what we could do to help or offered to volunteer, and that we don't care about the animals. Really? Are you kidding me? If you didn't have to save face in an attempt to make the running of the shelter as well as the foundation did, none of you would have anything to do with the shelter, just like before. When you took over the shelter with no plans in place, no program set up, no vendors, was that about the animals? We are continuing our commitment by expanding our spay-neuter clinics, working with individuals and TNR assistance for the feral cat populations. We're still continuing our fundraising efforts, Bark in the Park this month and 5K walk run in October. You all spend the last few minutes of every commission meeting patting each other on the back for the same things that the foundation and our supporters have been doing for over the past 20 years. Board members receive no money for their volunteer work while you all get paid, and you, Mr. Vitus, are well compensated.
Thank you. Marianne Reese, citizen.
Maryannreese. Perception, the state of being or process of becoming aware of something. Knowledge, understanding, or comprehension. You accuse the foundation and its supporters of a skewed perception due to lack of evidence with larger numbers and statistics of euthanized animals, of a believed false disclosure with hopes to prove otherwise. Also, you expressed surprise at a lack of attempt to report suspicion to the vet board in Charleston. It was truly an embarrassing representation by a legal professional to present such a weak case against Kerry McIntyre. When in a logical and rational thinking process, one would perceive a grand opportunity by a visit and questions of statistics asked to provide transparency and opportunity for the shelter to shine in their operation so far. With numbers and stats that showed impeccable records of incoming strays, adoptions, fosters, or those being medically treated adding up, would be undeniable evidence of effort in your favor. Kerry was merely going by numbers presented by the humane officer with 76. No one can be banned from visiting a public shelter. When a minimal number of animals are counted on site, a reasonable question would be to inquire where the others are located. Kerry pleasantly and respectfully spoke to the humane officer on the phone, asking to set up a meeting to review the animal counts. The humane officer replied she could not provide those numbers at the time, of course, but would get back with her regarding the info and/or meeting. It has been over a week and there has been no response. What perception would be created in anyone's thoughts? And what reputable professional would call Charleston without substantiated evidence of misconduct? What a truly lame supposition or expectation. What legal representative would use it as a defense? If there was nothing to hide, why weren't easy numbers to calculate be extended proudly to verify competence of management? The commissioners have never been able to give anyone a rationale for their actions against the foundation. You accuse supporters of ridiculous insinuations of power, greed, and ego. With all their evasiveness in giving any reasoning, what conclusions would any citizen have but power of office, ego with personal vendetta, or greed over levy monies and budget cuts? That perception is ridiculous. Really? Your trust and integrity are greatly compromised. And for Bob Vidas to have the audacity to fault the foundation to not offering assistance to them in fundraisers and clinics is ridiculous. You've destroyed their ability to manage the shelter, stating there's no room for discussion or compromise. It's over, and the foundation will never get it back in disrespect for our presentations by cutting us off. State, we have twisted perceptions, and you think they should go do your work for you? You publicly proclaim undeniably that the commissioners have the ability to run the shelter even better and fault them now for not helping. How absurd and ridiculous on the part to the public. Bottom line, you have no case, just one sentence. Bottom line, you have no case against the foundation of ill-reputed actions. Your perception is concocted and distorted. If this is your strongest case, you've lost hands down with the people of Hancock County, especially with over 4,000 signatures and hundreds of emails to prove it. Thank you.
Darla Carson, citizen.
My name is Darla Carson, D-A-R-L-A-C-A-R-S-O-N. I reside in Clinton, Pennsylvania. I have been associated with the Hancock County Animal Shelter for 18 years, quite a long time. The first 8 years of that association was through volunteer work. That volunteer work was done at PetSmart in Robinson Township, and I worked full-time while I was doing this. It was done 5 to 7 days a week. At that time, since I was in hiring and firing, I recruited volunteers. I had them staffed at PetSmart in Robinson Township. I was ready to go back there. I find we're no longer up there. I don't know why. That notwithstanding, I just want to say that I feel I've worked hard for this shelter. Since 2008, I have not been able to devote the time due to family situations, but I've still made large sums of money donated to it. I've bought cat food, I've bought dog food, I've taken supplies down there, and I worked my backside off to get a very large chunk of money for that shelter through an estate. I'm not going to say what the amount was, but suffice it to say it was a very large chunk of money. I don't know where it went, and right now that's not the issue. but I did stop there on Tuesday to look at the shelter. I was duly impressed. When I was there a year ago, that shelter was dirty. It was 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It was still dirty. I know they had a lot of animals, and I can't take that away from them. I realize that the commissioners have started off with a relatively clean slate, so they have had the opportunity to build the animal population up. But when I stopped there, that place was spotless clean at 10:30 in the morning on Tuesday. The animals were well taken care of. There was a community room that the cats were running around in. There was a lot of food stock there, and I made a nice donation again because I truly respect Hancock County Animal Shelter. I think there are too many egos, too many big people here that don't realize that the fiefdom has ended on every side. And it's got to stop. I'm from Pennsylvania. I get 15 to 20 calls a day from people saying, what's going on at Hancock County Animal Shelter? I don't know. Do you look like I run it? I mean, do I look like I'm down there taking care of it? No, I don't know. But suffice it to say, something's got to give and this fighting's got to cease because what comes first and foremost? The animals, not the people, not the egos, not the large personalities. It's the animals. And if some of them have to be put to sleep, so be it. I'm one of the biggest animal lovers. Trust me, I've taken quite a few out of Hancock because they were sick, because they needed care. And who gets stuck with them?
30.
Me, and that's fine. So I just want to say thank you for what is being done. I'm sorry this is going on. I'm not on a witch hunt. I don't care who is. But I think it needs to stop, and I think it needs to stop soon, and we need to all sit down and say, betterment of the animals. And if anybody wants money and wants to get out and do things, they can still do it and just donate the money to the shelter. I don't see where that's a problem. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Moving on. Go to the order. Karen?
Nothing today, thank you.
Nothing good. No. Counselor.
A few things. First, couple points of housekeeping. I would just say, respond to Mr. Rosnick that in terms of the FOIA response to you, everything was done in guidelines set by the West Virginia Attorney General's office. You can call and confirm with them if you like. And this reputable attorney, this reputable professional, contacted the West Virginia Board of Veterinary Medicine to verify that any claims made by Ms. McIntyre at the week before the meeting before last, if they had any bearing, what they should be, they reported to them, and they verified yes, they should. This would be the number they would call, and of course there were no complaints there. So that is that. This is the 6th meeting since Hancock County resumed control of its animal shelter. Again, I point out that these 3 commissioners kindly allowed the foundation and its supporters to speak to their issues. Are we sitting at a meeting for county business or a stage for perception, as a previous foundation supporter seemed to suggest? Last time, the theme from the foundation was Joe Barnaby and the Bad Guys, which is a cool name for a band, by the way. I should point out that the tactic being used there by the foundation. You target a person, and you focus on a word or phrase that he or she has used in order to silence and intimidate them. That ends the debate. Now, this time, it's been Mike Lucas, Bob Vitus, and the audacity to speak up. How dare we challenge anything perhaps suggested by the foundation? The bad part of that is it doesn't work so well on attorneys. It's funny how the commissioners are suddenly bad guys to the foundation, especially when the same group wants to work for the commissioners. At these meetings in the past, we essentially have heard every time from the foundation the following. You commissioners are dishonest, you are greedy, you're arrogant, you're bad guys. By the way, we demand you let us work for you. Give us a contract. Contradictory to say the least. Let's remember that the foundation's annual budget started in 1997 at $80,000. Over time, the county commissioners, the so-called bad guys, increased that budget to an eventual peak of $175,000, perhaps more given the year. More than twice the original amount. The commission did that to help the foundation and without demanding brand new terms to the contract. On another occasion, Kerry McIntyre approached the commission and asked for more money for the foundation. The request took place during a contract year when budgets had already been set. Ms. McIntyre stated that the foundation had exhausted its budget and would be unable to cover payroll for its employees. Did the commission demand new terms for the contract? Did the commission declare the foundation to be in breach of contract as it could not fulfill its obligations? When that request came forward, you want to know what these mean, low-down bad guys did? They gave the foundation the extra money. The reality of that generosity is now forgotten, and the perception of bad guys is put on the stage. These meetings are for legitimate county business. They are not a show or theater. Maybe some people think they are. Maybe these meetings are just a pep rally for those people. But Hancock County handles the meetings as business. As the county operates its shelter, certain questions arise as old issues have now come to light. The county will not make wild accusations or insinuations. Information will be sought, and the foundation will be receiving a Freedom of Information Act request concerning matters related to the animal shelter. Information is needed, records are needed, so we can get answers. The foundation, as an organization that receives public funding, is subject to FOIA requirements. Hopefully, the foundation will timely comply with that request. That's all I have.
Ms. Carroll?
Good afternoon. Just want to remind everybody that the Hancock County Old Time Fair is this weekend. There you go, Mr. Smith. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at a Tomlinson Run. Family-friendly fun, family-friendly prices. The only thing they asked this year is a donation of a non-perishable food item to get in on Friday night. Saturday and Sunday is just $1 a person. Parking is free. Our 4-H River Rockets helped with the wagon, transporting people in and out, helping them getting on and off safely. Of course, our 4-Hers will be there with their exhibits. We're going to be selling some chicken and noodles and some chili, so it might be cold this weekend, so you might want to stop by and get a bowl from us. Next weekend, just as a reminder to the public, is the New Cumberland River Fest, a festival that we joined last year and we plan to be at again this year, and we're looking forward to being so. The following weekend, this is fair and festival season, we got the chili cook-off down in Weirton, so it's going to be a lot of weekends for things to do here in the local area for families. Our program year is getting started up again with all of our clubs getting started up again in October. 4-H continues to be free to join, and we're very happy to do so. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're up, Trey.
I just wanted to give the condolences to Bob Pugh's family. I don't know if any of you knew Bob, but Bob was a former police chief in the city of Chester. Wonderful man, and he passed away earlier this week, so my thoughts and prayers are to them. And also, as far as our part-time dispatching, I have discussed with Executive Director Vitus some options that we might be looking forward to try. So you might be hearing from me for those in here in the near future. So we're hoping to try to eliminate some hardships up there with the scheduling issues. So thank you for the part-time.
Thank you. Like John.
We're still accepting applications for the absentee ballots. They can go online to the Secretary of State's website, or they can call us here at the office. Also, the voters registration deadline is October the 18th. And again, you can come in here to the office, or you can go online.
Good. Coming fast. Ms. Brenda?
I have to say this, that I really do hope that this animal shelter business gets settled soon. I think everybody involved on both sides care about the animals. I don't think that it's necessarily an ego trip on anybody's part that this change has taken place. And I just hope that in the very near future that it does come to an end. And that's all that I have to say. Thank you.
Mr. V.
Following what Brenda said, I will say nothing today.
George?
Nothing.
Commissioner?
Two things. One, I'm with you, Brenda. Three things. Does need to end. Only God knows when that's going to end. For some perception and reality, the accusations of hiring friends, The reality of that was the first 8 people hired at the shelter, 6 were previous employees or volunteers of the Hancock County Animal Shelter Foundation, currently working at the shelter or started to work at the shelter. I really don't know who's there right now. As far as the commissioners running the shelter, which is what everybody says, we're really not running that shelter. Okay, it's just another entity of the Hancock County. That shelter is being run by Nicole Busick. Nicole Busick, excuse me. 18 years she's been affiliated with animals. 9 years she's been a humane officer in Hancock County. Obviously, as some woman, I really don't know who she was, stated, somebody's doing a fine job up there. Okay, I don't want credit for that fine job up there because I'm not doing a fine job up there. Okay, the director and her employees are doing a fine job up there. Okay, so let that be known. The commissioners are not running that shelter. That shelter is being run by someone who is very, very, very well schooled in animals and put together a nice staff, and some were employed by the foundation. And please correct me if I'm wrong. Mr. Goff stated that's a 4-year levy. Is that not listed as a 3-year levy?
My knowledge is 3 years.
I just want to correct the former president of the foundation that it is a 3-year levy, wasn't a 4-year levy. Thank you.
Commissioner? Just in regards to the Animal Foundation, you folks are still operating, correct? You're having a Bark in the Park next weekend and so on. So you're still operating, doing your thing, and taking care of animals. And that's exactly what the Hancock County Commission is doing at Gas Valley. So it appears to me that both organizations are doing the same thing, which is good. Kudos to both groups. The animals are being taken care of. So I really don't see what this is all about. It just continues on. If someone could explain it better than what I'm comprehending, I would really appreciate that. But it seems like you're doing your thing, and the commission and our group is doing our thing at Hancock County, and all the animals are being taken care of. So if I'm missing the boat, please inform me. Again, Carol, yes, the old Hancock County Old Time Fair is this weekend. Next weekend's the Riverfest in New Cumberland. We won't be having a meeting before then. I just want to mention those 2 things. Hopefully the weather's good and we'll be able to get out to enjoy ourselves. Nothing else to say. Thank you. Okay, my comment's very short, and it's not actually to this room. It's actually to the public out there and the media here that put this in the papers, and the 60-odd thousand people that watch this every week. The old school teacher in me always gives analogies, and the analogy here is when we put out a grass cutting bid for bid, and someone comes back and says, well, I really don't like the cut with a weed eater, or I don't like the cut hillsides. The bids really aren't negotiable to a certain extent. So for the public out there, in mid-May, we advertised for bids. June 16th, the bids were due, and we didn't receive any bids. Okay. That's it. Thank you. The next meeting, under meetings, regularly scheduled meetings for the month will be the 6th and 20th. The next meeting is October the 6th at 2:30. Gentlemen, that's fine with you? Move to accept that. And we also move to adjourn. So moved.